We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, welcome everyone. My name is Hassan.
I'm Danielle.
And you are watching the Couples Academy Show. Great to be on with you. We want to know where you are actually dialing in from. Are you in the United States? Are you in the continent of Africa, South America, Central America, Asia, the Middle East? I did a session this morning from a couple from Thailand. Maybe you're in Southeast Asia. Wherever you are, we want to connect with you. So let us know your city, your state, your country, rep who you are. Listen, we are continuing a conversation that we've been having since the beginning of the week. We've been talking about the 10 big mistakes that the unfaithful partner makes, and today we're going to transition and talk about the 10 big mistakes that the betrayed partner makes, because they make mistakes as well. Absolutely. But before we get into that conversation,
make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. That way you do not.
You had to make that obvious, like I'm saying.
As if it wasn't obvious. You won't miss a show, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in every day, letting us know where you're tuning in from, saying hello to us so we can acknowledge you on the second half of the show. But guys, every time you like, share, and subscribe, well, every time you like and share, you help us spread this message across the country and the world. So we really appreciate you. Keep doing it. Good work.
Listen, guys, we're receiving email requests about the Last Chance Weekend. We're responding to them. Listen, respond back, because you're asking detailed questions and we're giving you these answers. People are signing up. We have a few slots left. So if you are ready to do this, make it happen. Remember, it's January the 7th through the 9th, 2022. What an amazing way to start your year. And so for those that are tuning in and don't really know about the Last Chance Weekend, because people say all the time, yeah, I heard you mention something about it. We talk about it every day. So watch this quick video that gives you an idea, and then we'll go into a testimonial, and then we'll start the show. One of the things that I love about that video, because if you're reading the words, it kind of unpacks what we do, but it said where hurt meets healing. And so I think that would reflect what happens when people come. They come from a place of hurt and they find healing in this weekend experience that they did not anticipate, they didn't believe was possible, but they're amazed at that transformation. So if that is you, if you're hurting, and here's the reality, both of you are,
yes.
Okay? There are two sides to the offense, and both of you are hurting in completely different ways, and you deserve to receive a healing, and this is the place where you can get it. Someone asked yesterday, I didn't get a chance to address it, is this last chance weekend only for people who've had affairs? And the answer is absolutely not. We have experienced hurts and pains in many areas of our relationship, and every single time we do this, there are always a few couples who have not gone through it, and they're not out of place, if you will, because what we do is specific but general enough to really address everyone's concern, no matter what it is. So yes, you can come on down. And we have a testimony of a couple, or of a woman who actually went through the last chance weekend. So let's hear what she has to say, and then we'll get started on the other side of this.
Hello, my name is Adrienne. I am here from Baltimore. Came down, heard about this last chance weekend academy for Couples Academy, and so I came down with my boyfriend Kevin. Since we have been here, it has been an amazing experience. I will say, coming from the field that I'm in, I am actually a counselor, so I felt there was going to be a little bit of familiarity. I felt like I already know this. However, I came with the idea of just giving it a chance, and I am so glad that I did that, because now I was able to switch roles, and now I'm not the therapist, I was actually the client, so I was able to absorb new information in a different way. This experience, I would say, was excellent, from the assignments to the activities, the time spent, conversation starters, conversations that I may have tried to have before with my spouse, or with my boyfriend. It's not my spouse yet, with my boyfriend. And so it helped navigate that conversation between the two of us. I also like the fact that it didn't seem so biased, and that it was helpful because we aren't married but headed down marriage. So for us, this was, it definitely touched on the infidelity part that for me, when I came here, I was in the mind frame that this was just over. And it took so long for me to get there and explaining, like, I've shut the opportunity of us working on this thing down so long ago. Now here we are, this is day 3, we're getting ready to go, and I would say new ideas have resurrected. A part of me has kind of changed that mind frame. I saw something in my partner who was so resistant to therapy, but he's dating a therapist, open up in ways that not just for our core relationship, but for his individual healing. And so for that, I'm super grateful. I'm super grateful for the men being able to impact the men. I'm grateful for the women and the sisterhood that we were able to bond. I look forward to our journey, because we're going to do the next step, and that was his idea. So yeah, we are 5 years in, and hopefully a lifetime to go. Thank you, guys.
I love that. Adrienne is awesome, and they're doing okay. And you know, one thing that stuck out to me is the fact that she was a therapist herself, and so oftentimes, and she would not be the first therapist or coach or somebody of influence that would come here. Ministers, pastors often are the ones that people turn to for support, and they know the things to do, but just because you know the things to do does not mean that you're doing them. True. And does not mean that you have a partner that's doing it with you. And oftentimes you just need a place to go and to be, and so you can see there was major transformation for them. I want to acknowledge some people this morning who are joining us. This so many people joining and hopping on. This must be a topic that people really want to talk about. But I want to say good morning to Shalize, all the way in New Jersey. Gonzalez is joining us. Hey, Team Smith. Ralph is with us from Ohio. LaShawn is in Cleveland, Ohio. Darrell is with us, Charlotte, North Carolina. Jose is at the DMV.
Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
Oh, okay. I don't know that.
You thought it was like the DMV.
Yeah, I'm like DMV.
You should telling us where he's working right now, the DMV?
Thank you.
Giving titles and licenses.
Thank you for that clarity. Okay. April is with us, joining us from Macon, Georgia, not too far away. Renita's with us. Good morning. And then Jose, okay, you mentioned Maryland there. Thank you for clarifying. Somebody else must have said, where's DMV? You getting your card fixed? You getting a title? What are you doing? Rhoda is with us from Connecticut, and Paz is in the Philippines. Welcome. So it's nighttime there. Yep, evening in the Philippines. C is joining us from Detroit. JG, good morning. Lashana is in Noonan, Georgia. And Gaisha is with us from St. Kitts. All the way, we miss St. Kitts. It's been way too long since we've been in St. Kitts. So thank you for joining us from so far away. Jarius is with us. Good morning. Fedlina is in Las Vegas, Nevada. Torre is joining us. Jewel is with us from Pennsylvania. Marissa is joining us all the way from, I hope, hot Arizona. I think it's hot there. I mean, I'm not sure because this weather's so crazy. Chastity is with us. Good morning, Clancy, and so many more. Oh, I see you, Stephanie.
Clancy from Australia.
It's Australia,
Yes.
Okay. And Stephanie's joining us from ATL, and so many more, guys. But we want to jump into this topic because it is a very important topic to cover.
All right. So we've got to be crystal clear that the unfaithful partner who betrayed their spouse, there was hurt and brokenness within them that caused them to do it in the first place, created hurt and brokenness in their betrayed spouse, and as a result of that hurt and brokenness, you typically show up in a very hurtful way. And when you're in this negative, dark place, you begin to do things that are counterproductive to who you are, counterproductive to the relationship. And we've got to be honest. We've got to have a real conversation about what these things are. Now, I will say some of these things may be in reaction to your partner.
Yes, absolutely.
But some of these things was who you were before the affair actually took place.
That's absolutely true, because nobody can bring out of you what's not already in you, right? But you have become someone different, and that has to be acknowledged. I need you to understand that you are not who you used to be. As a result of the affair, you have allowed issues, idiosyncrasies, vices to rise up in you that were not present before, but they were in you. They were buried deep down within you. You had the capacity to do whatever it is that you're doing now. You had the capacity to do before, but you have to remember that you are now operating outside of your normal self. And so if we could keep that in the back of our mind as we start talking about the things that the betrayed partner does that makes mistakes in their decision to move forward with their spouse, I think this pill will go down a little bit easier.
Well, let's get started. Number one, bludgeoning your spouse with guilt, thinking that this will be helpful. This is a very common thing that happens not just particularly in the discovery phase, but it can happen all throughout the recovery process if you are not aware of it. And it's like there's a constant need that you have to remind your partner of what they've done as if they don't remember. Trust me, every single day, I'm sure there's not a day that goes by that something doesn't trigger them and bring back the memory of what they've done. But often when you share it, it is done in a very negative way. It is done in a very finger-pointing, accusatory, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't be going through what I'm going through if it wasn't for you. And what happens is it's almost like a browbeating that you're giving your spouse. You're spanking him verbally or her verbally, never wanting them to forget, reminding them every single day, and it keeps them trapped in their pain. It keeps them trapped in their shame. It keeps them trapped in their guilt. And when you're operating in that space, you continue to do things based upon that negative low level. And so it could reinforce more of the same bad behavior.
Right.
Because a person justifies, well, if this is just who I am, I might as well keep doing what I'm doing.
And they may not currently be there, right? Like, you know, because you're living in the pain, anchored in that pain, right? And you're bludgeoning them with your words, reminding them of what they did. You know, your mindset behind that is that if I act like everything's cool, if I let this go, if I forgive him and move on, or her, and move on, they're going to think it's okay to do this again. They're going to think I'm okay with the fact that they did this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat them over the head with the mistakes that they made in the past and never let them forget it. And the problem with that is that it becomes exhausting to the person that is currently trying to do right. You are not able to see what they're currently doing because you're still looking through the lens of what they did in the past. And that's discouraging for the person that's actually trying to do right, turn their life around, and move forward with you.
And let's just slow down for a second. We're using the word bludgeon intentionally. Let me just give you an understanding. It means to beat someone repeatedly with a bludgeon or a heavy object, to force or bully someone to do something. For instance, this is how it was used. She was determined not to be bludgeoned into submission. So it is a force. It is a weapon or a tool of control and manipulation to constantly hit someone over the head verbally in this way, not letting them to forget. It's to batter. It's a club. It's a strike. It's a beat. You're beat. It's like hammering down. And that's what often happens in a relationship. And so this is why a spouse says, I'm not coming home. I'm moving out of the room. I'm leaving the house. I can't be in this environment because every single day, 24 hours a day, no matter what's happening, we're right back here again. This represents the couple who
where did
they're
it
in the
come
sufferer
from?
marital pattern.
Right, because sometimes you're sitting there at the dinner table having dinner and you have no idea why your spouse brought up something like, well, is this how you sat at the dinner table with her? You know, and it's just like,
We were just laughing
we're having
and
dinner
talking
laughing.
and having a good
And
conversation.
that's how it happens.
And boom.
That's how it happens oftentimes. So this is a big one.
This is
it's
big.
tough. It requires getting control over your mouth, which we talked about last week. You know, it's the hurt partner has to understand that they actually have a tremendous amount of heavy lifting to do in the journey of recovery. It is not a solo journey. It's not, well, the affair partner has to do this while I wait and see what they do. No, it is a journey that you must embark upon together.
It is. Guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about the 10 big mistakes that the unfaithful partner makes. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Person that he cheated with. All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about the 10 big mistakes that the betrayed spouse makes. Number one, we were talking about the bludgeoning that happens by a spouse. But let's go into the next one. Number two, believing that you can keep your mate safe and away from temptation. Now, this is a big one because oftentimes, you know, when a unfaithful partner accuses their spouse of being controlling, why are you so controlling? The reality is, that's the role that you play. Right. Because when the affair happened, it was just like my life spiraled out of control and I lost what I knew was normalcy. And now in my attempt to get it back, I need to have control over things, including my partner. So
My objective is to keep you from being tempted. So I don't want you going over there anymore. I don't want you talking to them anymore. I don't want you engaging in that anymore. You got to be careful what you watch. You got to be careful what you listen to. And all those things are absolutely true. Let's be crystal clear, because the reality is, if you're continuing to engage in the same behaviors around the same people, going to the same places, then yes, you're going to potentially slip right back into that space, because just saying I'm not going to do it is not enough. It requires a lot. But what happens is, there, if a person, listen, here's the reality. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, you can't keep your partner from doing what they are committed to doing. Does that make sense? So if they've made a decision that I'm not done, I'm going to continue to do what I do, regardless of the consequences, no matter how, listen, you could have surveillance on them 24 hours a day. You will miss an opportunity to see them engage, because they'll figure out a way. That's just a fact.
Real talk. And let me just say this. The comment here is believing that you can keep your mate safe and away from temptation. It's a mindset issue. So all the boundaries that you put in place that are absolutely necessary, because one of the reasons why your spouse stepped out in the first place is because you had zero boundaries or terrible boundaries, blurry lines of boundaries, and so things went awry, okay? So you absolutely need boundaries. And guess what? You also need full disclosure. If I need to see you everywhere the heck you go, then so be it, right? What is there to hide if you have nothing to hide? But it's the mindset about thinking that you can keep your spouse from temptation, okay? Not true. Because at the end of the day, if your spouse is an unfaithful person, they have a mindset that justifies it. They have a point of view about life that justifies them doing that. Until they change their point of view, there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it.
So let's just be clear, because we're not saying that there shouldn't be boundaries. There should.
Right.
We're not saying that there shouldn't be transparency. There should. We're not saying that the unfaithful partner shouldn't change behavior, change community, change relationships that have helped to co-sign or influence one's bad behavior. They should. What we're saying is, with all of those changes that the unfaithful partner should willingly want to make, your attempt to control their every move is not going to keep them from being tempted, because the temptation is something that they have to work on within themselves. Does that make sense? So for instance, let's just say I love steak and you try to keep me away from certain places.
Lamb chops.
Where steak is available or lamb chops is available. You can physically create a boundary that keeps me from going in there, but that doesn't mean that the desire for that steak is not going to be there. It's still there. So we're really using creating boundaries, which is an external thing, to solve an internal problem, and that doesn't work. So in addition to building up walls of protection, which are external things have to be done willingly within that unfaithful partner, within his or herself, for that own personal transformation. Remember, we said that the key to your marital restoration is your personal transformation. And that person has to have a willingness to want to become the best version of him or herself to overcome the temptation that comes. And let me just say, temptation is not sin. It is the fulfillment of the temptation that is sin. So in the betrayer's journey, the temptation may still be there, but the goal is to figure out how to change one's taste buds. So the things that you once desired, you no longer desire. In fact, the things that you desired and had a taste for, now when you look at it, when you smell it, it's just like, ugh, how could I have ever wanted that? But that is a personal journey that the unfaithful partner has to take for him or herself. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go to the next one. One of the biggest mistakes that the betrayed spouse makes is trying to compete with the affair partner with pornography, or other behavior. So if your partner is into porn and you're trying to compete with that, first of all, we don't need to go down that path. We don't need to go into specifics. But what happens is, when you're doing that, it may change taste, desire, interest, and now you're competing with that. Okay, that's what you're doing. I gotta be that or overcome that. Or you become an individual who studies the affair partner. Okay, so this is what she looked like, and this is what he did and this is how they operate, okay, I'm gonna be that, okay? So if she's tall, I'm gonna wear heels, okay? If she has long hair, I'm gonna get a weave, okay? If he's athletic, I'm going in the gym, okay? If he has a great personality and he makes you laugh, I'm gonna read a book on how to tell jokes. I've got to become who that person is to help you overcome the temptation and the desire for them so you can have a desire for me. And that is a focus on the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, it generally is not about that other person. So if Bob was the person that your wife was involved with, you study Bob because you need to be Bob, a better version of Bob, so that now her eyes are fixated on you. But Bob, truth be told, could have been replaced by Frank or Bill or John or Jay, because oftentimes it's not that I'm in pursuit of that person. I may be in pursuit of something within myself that I've lost.
Yes, there you go.
I may be trying to escape from my reality, and Bob happened to be in the right place at the right time, which is really the wrong place at the wrong time, and something happened. Maybe there was a deficit within me that Bob met that had nothing to do with a physical attraction, emotional attachment, anything. It was, there's complexity to this, and I think we simplify it so much so, and we take this complex situation and make a simple solution out of it, thinking that we're solving the problem, and we are not. And that is why it is important to come to a Last Chance Weekend, a private marriage intensive, weekly sessions, whatever you do, because we're able to help unpack the complexity of it so that you can gain insight on how to truly solve the problem, not using these methods to do what truly does not work.
That's a great response to that comment there. And I want to acknowledge the conversations that's going on in the chat, guys. It's good conversations, good questions. But what I want to encourage you to do is to tune in every night at 9 p.m. for Ask the Experts, because these questions you're asking can go in all different directions, but you will get your answers there. So
tonight, these questions, we're answering them tonight at 9 o'clock. So
tune in. But I do want to add on that, when it comes to comparisons, it's interesting to hear people say things like, when I saw who the affair partner was, I was, they looked like a dog, they looked like this and that, and they were this and that and the third. And so there's an immediate comparison that goes on. If you think that you are more attractive than the person and you just can't understand why they would lower their standards, now you're questioning your value to your spouse. If you think the affair partner was more attractive than you, now you have all these insecurities about not being enough. And so it's a horrible, slippery slope that you're getting yourself into. And comparing yourself, and it opens up these insecurities that you never had before. And it is a mirage, because at the end of the day, it is so not about you. To Hassani's point, he said it. He said it is something within the person that they were seeking. It was their deficit. It was their lack. It was their insecurity. It was their issue that caused them to step out. And we have to guard ourselves and not take on their insecurities for our own. And that's what happens when we start comparing ourselves to the affair partner.
So please, whatever you do, never compete with someone else. It's a losing game. Compete with yourself. Compete to become the best version of yourself. Look at your present self or your former self and say, how can I become better for me and for the relationship? Because truly, that affair partner is a non-factor.
Right. And let me just say this one more point too. I'm sorry, because it's just coming up as I'm thinking about scenarios. And the thing is that I want to drive home when it comes to even what Hassani said, stop competing with the affair partner, compete with yourself. At the end of the day, I want you to remember yourself. That's what I want. I want you to dial into the self that you know that you are. And if you need to write it down, if you need to put it in a journal, how you've held yourself at a certain level of esteem, do that so that you remember who you truly are, because our vision becomes clouded when we start comparing ourselves to that affair partner. It's so hard to start, let me focus on me and build me up when we're in the midst of an affair, we've been broken down, we're hurt, we're injured, and we're looking at this other affair partner as this is the person that my husband or my wife has idealized over me. I want you to go back and remember who you were before you were hit with the discovery of that, because that's the truth. And then from there, yeah, you can build and work on and all the things that you need to do about you, because we all have stuff, but don't forget who you were prior to D-Day.
Wow, that is a bomb drop right there, for real. I hope that you're hearing what she's saying, because it's so true. Guys, listen, we're gonna take our time with this. We ain't gonna rush through this, because this is exactly what you've been waiting for. The views that we're getting, the comments that are going on in the chat is proof that this is a necessary topic. And so we may have to do a part 2 and part 3 to it, because we're only on the 3rd point. What we want you to do is sit down with your partner, excuse me, watch this conversation together, talk through it. It's not about, see, I told you, you heard what they said, because you use these as a form of, I don't know, like you weaponize these videos, and that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to find clarity, to find healing, and to figure out the steps to move forward. Okay, shameless plug. Anyway, guys, listen, I hope that you enjoyed it today.
You're watching the Couples Academy show.
Tonight, Ask the Experts. Make sure you tune in. It's at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, wherever you are around the world. We want you to do that. Last Chance Weekend coming up. Reach out to us. Thanks for the conversations, and those who have reached out, we will give you exactly what you need. And we will see you tomorrow for another great episode. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.